G'day folks, and welcome to Gourmet Shed. Well, I thought it's about time I gave you another update on what's been going on in Great Chesterford Junction instead of all the episodes that you've seen. So this is an actual update on the railway itself. So let's have a look at what's been going on here. I think the last update we had was dealing with lights and so on that I'd put down here in this area near the goods yard and on the end of the platform, etc. and showing how some of the lighting was working. It's coming out quite well actually, and I'd sort of hadn't done anything up in this area to the right here, but now I have. The first thing I did was put in a background over here, which is this sort of scene here. It starts to the right of the little row of terraces there, so all this background was put on, and with the intention of being a background for a little bit of a town that's going to be here. And so the background went all the way around behind those buildings you can see in the foreground, and also around here. I also continued on putting some along the wall as well, and continuing on right up to where the railway starts to enter the fiddle yard. So all that's been done. Lately I've been focusing on this area here at the back with the buildings. Now that's a lift out section. It's a sort of triangular piece that lifts right out so that I can get in behind the station building there. And I wanted to light that up as well, so I've sort of worked out a method for lighting that section and still having it as a lift out section. And I documented the process on platform 1, but I can sort of show you how some of it was done here. What I did was I built a well, the removable section, let's put it that way. The basics of the removable section are, it's a triangular piece of say 3mm MDF. On top of that is some 50mm polystyrene, and on top of that is some card, etc. The grass banks have plaster effect underneath them, etc. So it's a sandwich. It's a polystyrene sandwich, 50mm, and then that rests on a couple of bits and pieces on the wall, which just allows it to sit there quite happily by itself, and it can lift out. Now, to add lighting to these buildings, I needed to run a lighting bus underneath the removable section, and it was done quite simply, just a couple of wires, and they are connected via alligator clips up to the main lighting bus that runs under the baseboard. So all I have to do is disconnect the alligator clips, and then the section can be lifted out and worked on. Actually, it's good. You can't really sort of reach over there and do fine work at that distance. I have to stand on a little step up to actually reach over there, so it's just too far. It's not practical, so the section has to come out. So yeah, I've been working on these buildings, and they're all super quick buildings. No extra detail as such on them on the outside, although I am going to add some guttering and downpipes to improve the look of them. The little Elizabethan cottage was made some time ago, and that has had quite a bit of extra detail added to it. It has roof slates, and all the timbers in the wall, I coloured some paper and did cutouts to cover the actual printed section, so it gives it a bit more relief. However, that takes quite a bit of time, and yeah, the library here is actually slightly modified in that it was supposed to have an extension on the right hand side there where the Elizabethan cottage is, and I deleted that from the build, and it was quite easy to cover up where it was supposed to go, and it was no big drama to do that. All the buildings have, except the Elizabethan cottage, all the buildings have lighting in them, and the way that I deal with it is to make sure that I blank out any areas that may allow light to bleed from the building. So it's quite a process to sort of do that. And I also download images of interiors and scale them to the size of the windows, and I add those at the back of the windows so that it looks like there's something going on inside, even when there's no light on. That's Murray's Railway Hotel there, and if you could get down close enough you could see that there's little scenes in the windows there. Now that's just printed on paper and then it's lit from behind, so it's like a rear projection screen in effect, and I can show you some night shots of those, and you can get the impression of how it works. I've used amber lighting in most of the buildings, but in the library I felt that it's no good having sort of dull lighting in a library, so I've given the library the equivalent of fluorescent lighting by putting some white LEDs in there, so that really lights up at night. You've got to be able to see what you're reading, folks. You may notice down in the little town here near the market hall where this little blue vehicle is parked, I've got some bollards there with chains on them, and there's a bit of an interesting story with those in that I thought I'd order some online instead of making them, and so I found some nice bollards made by Bachmann, I think, in the UK for about $6, or was it £6? I think it was $6 Australian, and that was fine, but the $50 for postage was a bit steep, so I thought no, it was actually $53, sorry, $53 postage. I thought that was a bit rude, so there were others available at cheaper postage, but I was down to about $34 postage for a $6 item, so just not on, folks. That's just a bit too rude for me. So those bollards there are actually flathead nails cut to length and painted black, and then glued down upside down. The flathead is glued to the cobblestones there, and then a little bit of chain is super glued to each post. It's not the most elegant set of bollards, but it's a lot better than $59 worth. Yeah, the price is a lot better. And then I gave them a little highlight on top with some gold paint. So that's really quite simple, and I think they look reasonably effective. The other thing too is that in that position there, they're at least 3 feet away from the edge of the baseboard. It's probably closer to 4 feet. So yeah, it's hard for anyone to get too close to criticise them anyway, unless they've got very good eyes. Another thing I did recently was a bit of work on this loco, and I'll just bring it in and stop it at the station, and I'll show you what I've been up to here. We'll just pull it up. This is an old Lima loco I got. I got a good deal on that, and it's Western Gladiator, this particular one. And it came with the standard big D-sized, D-shaped couplings at the front. So what I've done is cut those off and added some small Bachmanns onto the front to greatly improve the look of it. And I've got 2 of these locos, so yeah, that's made a bit of a difference there. So that's just something I've been fiddling with as well. A little side project I've also done, folks, is this clock. I did this clock some years ago, made the face for it and everything. That's not the original face, obviously, but that was, I printed that out on the computer, that face, and I had an El Cheapo movement in it, and it used to give that tick tick tock sound when the railway was running. You've probably heard it on some of my videos. Well, the movement for that particular movement was a load of rubbish, and kept stopping like in the middle of the night. So I gave up on this clock for a while, but just recently I was given a clock that was no longer wanted, and I didn't really like the clock, but the movement that came with it was quite good, and I thought, well, I can just change the hands and fit it into my Great Chesterford clock. So that's what's happened, and it's running like a little beauty, and it's a very even sort of movement, especially on the second hand there. You don't get that tock, tick, tock with it anymore. It's just a smooth action. So yeah, it's good to have it in the room. There's no sort of extra sound going on when we're recording videos or running trains. So yeah, that's a little bonus. no great expense there, folks, but it's just nice to have a clock that's in the theme of the railway. So where do we go now, folks? Well, where we go now is another probably 3 to 4 buildings in this section here to be added, and work out exactly where the roadway is going. So that's where I'll be, and also I intend to do some more work, like there'll be a wall along the edge of the bank there, the grass bank. I think I'd like to put some sort of a garden in this section here on this grass bank, and have a little path going through it down to the roadway below. Yeah, so it's all a bit up in the air, and probably a tree right there at the end right hand side of the Elizabethan building. That will blend that into the background. It'll help the building sort of look more relevant there, instead of looking like it's just been cut off. So yeah, that's the rough sort of a plan. That's where we are. So yeah, stand by for further updates, folks. I'll see you later. Cheers, Gourmet.